We do here with some insight on just how big the problem is and what's being done about it and on the ground is James Castro, Chief Executive Officer at St. PJ's Children's Home in San Antonio, Texas. Mr. Castro, thanks so much for joining us this morning here on America's Forum.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Mr. Castro, first of all, tell us, what is your view on the ground in San Antonio? Have some of these children shown up at your home yet?
Yes, they have. We were able to start a contract with the Office of Refugee Resettlement actually in April 2013 and have been serving these children continuously since then.
Now, when you say you're serving the children, can you delineate for us more what your organization does with these children?
Sure. You know, St. PJ's Children's Home is it's an emergency shelter. We're a residential care facility where we care for kids 24/7, 7 days a week. And so when I say serving children, what that means is when children are admitted into our facility, we immediately go ahead and provide them clean, brand new clothing. We get them fed. We get them medical care. Obviously, we assess their mental health situation by involving our therapists, our counselors, and our case managers, and feed them naturally, and we just provide a loving, nurturing environment.
Mr. Castro, now, I've heard that you've served more than 600 unaccompanied minors just last year alone. Is that true?
Yes, that's
Wow.
true. Yes, the children, when they are brought to St. PJ's, our average length of stay is close to about 30 days. And so when you say average, that means, you know, a lot of kids are with us for 2 to 3 weeks, and sometimes they're with us for 4 to 5 weeks, yes.
Just
So with that kind of...
I'm
Yes,
sorry,
ma'am.
go ahead. No, continue.
Well, I was
interrupted
just
you.
going to say, yeah, St. PJ's, we provide 82 emergency shelter beds.
Right.
And so with 82 and obviously that length of stay, that's how we get to that number.
But just reading that number, seeing 600 just last year alone, does that give us some indication as to how big of a problem this is for San Antonio and for the country?
Well, I believe so. You know, San Antonio is a city that has many benefits. We have a great medical community here. We have a bilingual community here, lots of educational opportunities here. And so we're right in the heart of Texas, which means I think we're easily accessible. And therefore, a lot of the children probably, for the Office of Refugee Resettlement, this is a great place to provide the services.
Well, Mr. Castro, when you talk to these kids, maybe some of the older ones who are in their teenage years, are they telling you why so many of them are coming right now and where their parents are?
Yes, well, that's part of the responsibility of counselors and case managers.
And so what are they telling you as to why so many are coming right now? Because we're hearing reports that those numbers are only going to increase.
Sure. Well, St. PJ's, again, is in the business of caring for children. I know you can get the very specific details from ORR, but a lot of the kids that we have cared for, you know, they speak to it's been a very difficult journey to get here. They speak to they're looking for safety. They're looking for basic needs. They're looking for
Is it economic
members.
issues? Is it the persecution, political persecution? Is it the fear for their lives? Why are they fleeing their own countries in South America, and so many unattended children, unauthorized children coming into the United States right now currently?
Yeah. Those are those kind of specific details we need to kind of keep confidential. I believe that the Office of Refugee Resettlement can give you more specifics than that. Our goal is to, you know, obviously is to care for these kids, make them feel safe, deal with their all of their needs to make sure that they get on the road to healing.
And do you see that need increasing since you opened? I mean, we're looking at images of children laying on the floor, at least we were a little bit ago. Do you see that need increasing? I know you have 82 beds. Do you see your organization adding more to accommodate all the children that are coming in?
Yes, we do.
How many do
Yes,
you
that need
expect
is
to
increasing,
receive? Yeah. How many do you expect to receive this year? Like I said, numbers indicate that you had 600 children go to your organization just last year. How many
Yeah.
do you predict this year?
Well, one of the let me answer it this way. We predict the numbers to continue to go up. This year, we added an additional contract with the Office of Refugee Resettlement to provide foster care homes as well. As the numbers increase, the number of younger children arriving is happening too, as young as 4, 5, 6 years old.
Wow.
And so with this additional foster care home contract, we'll be able to serve these younger children in a home-like setting with temporary foster parents. And so because of that, naturally the numbers are going to go higher. Besides the kids we care for on our campus, we're going to be adding as many bilingual foster families in the San Antonio area that we can.
Mr. Castro, we can understand the need for privacy in terms of counseling with these children, why you didn't get into specifics with John Bachman's questions of the whys and wherefores. However, you are in a position to tell us more about the contracts you have received from the government. You mentioned I believe the Office of Refugee Relocation. You say now you're expanding beyond the beds at your facility now to contract with foster families. That would seem to indicate, and was that an amendment to the contract that you signed a year ago, or is this something on an emergency basis? I guess what I'm interested in, how long has there been a working relationship between your organization and the federal government to accommodate these children brought to our nation's doorstep?
Yes, sir. Again, we got our contract last year in April 2013 with the Office of Refugee Resettlement, and then it was just this year in 2014 that we have now a separate contract to provide the foster family care for these children too.
Mr. Castro, you joined us with the proviso that you were not here to engage in politics or take a political stance. I'm not trying to ask a political question, but there are some legitimate concerns in terms of when we try to reach out with compassion. We are hearing both in Mexico and Central America that essentially this equates in the ears of those who may be thinking about coming to this nation. It becomes an attraction that if you get across the border, the United States will provide for you in some form or fashion. And despite the good intentions, can you see how this could be considered a magnet to actually bring more people here into the country illegally?
Well, what I can say is this seems to be kind of a humanitarian crisis. When you have unaccompanied children coming across our border, I know how all of us here in this country, when we see a child that is left alone, we all worry. We all immediately rush to the aid of that child to make sure that they're safe and they're cared for and they get with their family. I mean, that's what Americans do. We have that high moral standard. And so places like St. PJ's are responding in that way, providing these, these children without any legal guardians with them to make sure that we can do everything we can to make sure that they're safe. And I know that as Americans, I feel that, at least here in San Antonio, we all feel good about that we're able to make a difference for these children, and we trust that our government will do the right thing in where they go after here.
How do you define the right thing, Mr. Castro?
Well, I define the right thing as they continue to be safe, nourished, educated, medical care, nutrition, all of those things are the right thing.
James Castro, CEO of St. PJ's Children's Home, you have been very indulgent with your time. We thank you so much for joining us today on America's Forum.
Well, I appreciate this chance to speak to you all. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you very much. The challenge is this, a humanitarian crisis.
Right.
But of whose making? So much for the argument of family reunification when so many children are being brought to our borders unattended, and the humanitarian impulse, while laudable in terms of geopolitics, will, in my opinion, only enhance
Encourage
encourage more people coming. It is a terrible dilemma, but one can see the political angle, even though our friend who joined us obviously wants to stay clear of politics.
And that was the point of my question. Are these people, these kids, running from something or running towards something? And he was unable to give us an answer to that.
Well, you want to stay clear of politics, but we welcome your thoughts. What do you think is going on? Who's responsible for the humanitarian crisis? Why don't you tweet us your comments at Newsmax TV, #America's Forum. There's also email and Facebook.